All right, let's just jump right in. If you're anywhere near the world of software, you totally know this story. Your development teams, they're moving at the speed of light, pushing out new code basically every day. But then you've got your compliance and security folks, and they're often stuck in, well, a much slower world of manual checklists and these big clunky quarterly reviews. So how on earth do you connect those two worlds? That's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
And it really is like a tale of two different worlds, isn't it? I mean, on one hand, you have the traditional GRC model, that's governance, risk, and compliance. Think periodic, super manual, all driven by checklists. And on the other side, you've got modern software development. It's continuous, it's automated, and pretty much everything is defined as code. You can see it, right? These two ways of working are just headed for a massive collision.
And you know the result of that collision? It's exactly what you'd expect. You get all this friction bubbling up between the teams. You get serious security risks just slipping right into production because everything's moving way too fast. And then you get this thing called audit fatigue. Oh man, it's that constant, absolutely exhausting scramble to pull together evidence for the auditors. The bottom line is, the old way just can't keep up anymore.
But here's the thing. What if the solution isn't some brand new, complicated process? What if it's about looking at something you already have in a totally new light? See, the key isn't to hit the brakes on development. No way. The real answer is to embed compliance directly into the engine that powers it all, the CI/CD pipeline. This thing, it's the new center of gravity for compliance. And this really gets right to the heart of it. If your GRC team isn't plugged into your CI/CD pipelines, they are completely missing where compliance actually lives today. It's the single most important place where all the real security and compliance action is happening in a modern tech company.
So this really calls for a big mental shift for everyone involved. The pipeline, it's not just some passive conveyor belt that moves code from point A to point B anymore. Nope, it's now an active control plane. Think about that. It's a living system that can enforce your security rules, it can monitor for any violations, and, this is huge, it can prove compliance all on its own automatically.
Okay, so let's actually peek inside this new kind of pipeline. The best way to think about it is like a super modern, totally automated factory. And at every single station along the assembly line, there are automated quality and compliance checks making sure the final product, your software, is secure and built right.
So from a bird's eye view, it looks something like this. A developer commits their code. Then the system automatically builds it and scans it. After that, it gets tested and validated against all your rules. And only if it passes everything does it get deployed. Now, for the next few minutes, we're going to zoom in on that critical second step, the build and scan phase. First up, the very first checkpoint is something called SAST, or Static Application Security Testing. The easiest way to think of this is like a blueprint checker. Before you even start building, it scans the raw source code itself. And it's looking for really common security flaws, things like SQL injection, or a really big one, developers accidentally leaving passwords or credentials right there in the code.
All right, next in line is SCA, which stands for Software Composition Analysis. And this one tackles a massive modern risk. See, most of the code we write today isn't built from scratch. It's assembled from open source parts made by other people. So SCA is kind of like checking your entire software supply chain. It scans all those third-party libraries you're using to see if they have any known vulnerabilities.
And it's not just about the code for your application. We have to remember, in the cloud, your actual infrastructure. We're talking servers, databases, all your networking. That stuff is also defined as code now. So IAC scanning, or infrastructure as code scanning, checks that code for dangerous misconfigurations. You know, like the classic blunder of accidentally leaving a storage bucket wide open for the whole internet to see.
And last but definitely not least, we've got dedicated secrets detection. This is a hyper-focused scan, and its job is simple. It runs on every single code change, and it's looking for one thing and one thing only: secrets. We're talking API keys, database passwords, access tokens. This is honestly one of the most common ways breaches happen, and this tool just completely automates the prevention.
So let's just pause here for a second, because this is the big takeaway, especially if you're coming from a GRC background. These four tools we just talked about, SAST, SCA, IAC scanning, and secrets detection, listen, they are not just geeky developer tools. They are your new automated controls. They are living, breathing, and working for you right inside the development process itself.
So, okay, if those are the controls, what's the big payoff? What do you get for all this? Well, it's huge.
You get to automate one of the single biggest headaches in the entire compliance world, getting ready for an audit. We're talking about a fundamental shift from a painful, manual evidence hunt to a system that gives you real-time proof on demand.
And this is where it all clicks together. Imagine an auditor asks you, so how do you manage third-party risk for your PCI compliance? Boom! You just point to your SCA tool and its logs. Or they ask, how do you enforce secure coding practices for ISO 27001? Easy. You show them your SAST scan results. The tools themselves become the direct, undeniable evidence for all these different compliance frameworks.
The key insight here, the real game changer, is that evidence is now just a natural byproduct of doing your daily work. Think about it. Every single time that pipeline runs, it automatically creates a perfect, unchangeable audit trail. You get the scan results, the pass-fail logs, even the tickets that were automatically created to fix any issues. It means no more hunting for screenshots and pasting them into spreadsheets. Thank goodness.
But look, just having the controls and collecting the evidence, that's not quite enough. You also have to prove that they're actually working effectively day in and day out. And that's where metrics come into play. This is how you get to what we call continuous assurance.
So yeah, let's just ask the big question head-on. It's fantastic that you have all these automated security gates in your pipeline, but how do you actually prove to an auditor, or maybe even your own leadership team, that they're working, that they're effective, continuously?
Well, the answer is you do it with data. You show them the data. Take a look at this chart. It shows exactly what percentage of software builds are sailing through the security gates versus how many are being blocked. This is so powerful. It clearly shows the value of your preventative controls. You can literally walk into a meeting and say, last month, our automated pipeline stopped 50 potentially vulnerable builds from ever reaching our customers. And you can get even more granular. This chart, for instance, shows you why those builds are failing. Are most of your problems coming from simple infrastructure misconfigurations, or is the bigger issue vulnerabilities in the open source code you're using? This kind of data is gold. It tells you exactly where your biggest risks are and, maybe more importantly, where you need to focus your training efforts.
When it's all said and done, it really comes down to this. In this super fast automated world we live in, your controls are only as good as the evidence they create. And these metrics, they are that evidence. They are the undeniable, data-driven truth about how effective your GRC program really is.
So we're going to leave you with this one question to think about. Take a hard look at your own organization. Is your compliance function seen as a roadblock? Something that developers are constantly trying to swerve around? Or have you managed to build compliance directly into the road they already travel on every single day? Because honestly, in today's world, that is the only way you're going to be able to move both fast and safe.